How's everyone doing today? This is your co-host Dervin with Synonyms of Sound.
And this is your second co-host, Tony. And I'd like to introduce Zionna Hanson from Barbells for Boobs. How's it going today?
Oh, it's great. Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's an
Thank you for being on the show.
absolute pleasure. I also love the name of the initiative, very creative. Would love to learn the origin story on that.
You know, all creative names have a really funny origin story. So
That's very true. That is true.
I can definitely give you the origin story if you'd like to start there. We can definitely start there.
Yes, why not? Let's start there. I think the name is powerful enough that it will be a good intro to this amazing conversation. So let's start with that. Like, how did the name come to fruition?
Yeah. So in 2009, I was running a CrossFit affiliate. If you don't know what CrossFit is, then you live under a rock and I can't really help you. But I was running a CrossFit affiliate, and back then, not a lot of people were really into it. It's very streamlined now. It's, a lot of people understand what CrossFit is. And so I was, in this place in my life where I was helping people get off their blood pressure medicine. I was watching people do a pull-up for their first time. I was just watching people's health just elevate to a whole new level, right? And so at the same time I was doing this, I received an email from my best friend saying that she was diagnosed with breast cancer. And I was just floored. I was taken back. I was 29 at the time and she was 27 at the time. And in my head, I was
really
like,
young.
she was super, in my head, I was like, breast cancer happens at 40, right? Like I wasn't even looking for that. I wasn't even aware of it happening at such a young age. So I'm taken back by this. And once I found out more and I dug into really, how did she find it? How would you even ask for a mammogram at that age? I found out she had a lump. And when she went in, she had went in 6 months prior to her diagnosis and they denied her screening. They told her a mammography recommended at age 40. And so she went back 6 months later because she still had some symptoms and she just wanted a second opinion. And she was diagnosed with stage 0 DCIS breast cancer. So that was, if you've ever had a loved one tell you that they've had cancer, that they've been diagnosed with cancer, you instantly turn into this, like, how do I fix it? Right? How do I fix this? Like, I didn't realize how much of a fixer I was. Like, being a coach, you're fixing people's movements all day, right? And now I have this big beast of cancer that's impacted my best friend. And I didn't know how to help her. And so there's this workout in CrossFit. It's called Grace. And it's in my head, it's heavy. It's 95 pounds. You got to do it 30 times. So you take this barbell, you got to clean it. It's called a clean. So you take it from the ground to your shoulders, and then you have to jerk it overhead. So you got to get it from the ground to overhead 30 times. And I was so scared of this workout. And I was like, well, if she can get through treatment, if she can, get through this journey, I could do this stupid workout, right? Like I got this.
Yeah.
And so I asked like 60 people, and I was actually really inspired to get other women to do it, because I just thought it would be something really, a powerful statement to say, hey, we're never taught as women, at least I wasn't, to pick up barbells. And I also wasn't taught that breast cancer can happen at any age. And so I was like, how do we kind of flip this and make this loud and noisy and vibrant, and make it to where somebody that was my age wanted to listen to my message and listen to Ceci's story. And so we did that, and we went to a bar afterwards, and my friend said we just did Barbells for Boobs. And so that's where the came from, was after a pitcher of beer. And we raised $2,000, and I saw the founder of CrossFit the next week, and just happened to be friends of mine, and he matched it. So we had $4,000 to give to Ceci, to give to my best friend. So I went to give it to her, and she was like, I don't need any financial help. And she was like, go help others with it. And that's, we took those initial funds and applied for our nonprofit status, really with the intention to support young women with breast cancer. And Yeah, our nonprofit was established April 29th of 2010, that next year.
Okay.
So.
Do you remember the name of the bar you went to?
No, oh my gosh, no, but I know exactly where it is. It's in Corona Del Mar, and it's an Irish pub. I can
Okay.
point it out
Okay.
in a heartbeat. I
All
forget
right.
the name. I should get the name. I should go back there.
Yeah, you should get the name for sure. But you know what's really interesting about our healthcare system is that we're more focused on um, we're not focused on preventative care. We're more focused on what happens after you identify something major. Like, for example, I think they recently changed the age limit or the recommendation for when men should go get their colon checked because I think it used to be 50 and then I think they dropped it to 40 or something like that. So I don't know if there is any relevance, but it's just interesting that, they always said like at the age of 50, start getting your colon checked. But now they're like, if you're 30, 40, you might want to start thinking about it because there's now been a lot of evidence that this could happen a lot sooner. It's not an older person thing. It's like a health thing, like your diet, your stress, everything else. So there's never a right time to check to make sure you're healthy. Of course, this could be too early, but
No,
completely.
yeah, you see that. It's so funny when you look at those guidelines, and I've done a lot of work in the guidelines, especially when it comes to breast health care screening, that we are very reactive and not
Mm-hmm.
proactive.
Yeah.
And so I'm just a huge advocate for proactive health. And so it's for mammograms specifically, what I learned, and this is, if there's anybody out there listening, this just stop listening for like 5 minutes if you don't care about really irrelevant information. But I just thought it was really interesting that every single state has a breast and cervical cancer program. Every single state does.
Mm-hmm.
And every single state, because when I initially raised the 4,000, the next year I raised 300,000. So
Oh, wow.
my problem I ran into when I first built my nonprofit was I didn't know how to spend the money. All I knew is I had a vision and I wanted to help women nationally. So I had to understand that every single state was different. So like California, to be eligible, let's say you're 27, you don't have health insurance, and you have a lump on your breast. Our state program won't fund you because you're 27. You don't even qualify because you're not 40. If you're a man, you don't qualify because you're a man. And so I had to go and learn every single state breast and cervical program. Like Florida, they don't cover you until you're 50. And so every single state has their own eligibility. And so then when I dug deeper, it became a legal issue. And I was like, I didn't sign up to be a politician. Like, what am I getting myself into?
So does that mean your focus kind of shifted from helping women versus changing policies and working with the medical industry in regards to making sure, like, are you guys aware that you're completely have this incorrect? Like, how did that go?
Well, so like you're just this like person, right? That's like, I want to help others. Let me start a nonprofit. And I think that I went into it really foolishly, like anybody does that starts a company. Like, yeah, I'm going to start a business, and you don't really know the truth behind it. And so in my head, I honestly thought that somebody was going to be able to just call me and I would pay for their mammogram. That was like how ignorant I was. And what I later learned was in order to fund, so once you fund a mammogram or somebody's health screening, you're responsible for their treatment if they're diagnosed. And so what we had to do was make sure that we had medical homes. So what we learned was we had to fund medical homes. So like we funded Watts Healthcare. So if by funding Watts Healthcare, we would be like, okay, here's $20,000. If a woman in your area needs a screening that fits these criteria, which is they don't qualify for the state funded program, they don't have the money or the means, and they don't have health insurance, they could utilize our grant funding to fund those women. And then all of those centers around the country provided us the results and, the fund where the funding went, and really supported young women because there's really no resources for young women. This was pre-Obamacare. And then everything shifted after Obamacare for us. We started getting refunds from our centers because now women had insurance, and now their new problem was they needed support with their deductibles, and we can't fund directly. So we were only able to fund the medical homes. And so it got really complicated. And so so that was happening. And then also at the same time, this was like 2014, 2015. I think it was like 2015 when eventually everything, this is 7 years ago and I've had a kid and lots of life has happened since then. But do you guys remember when the requirement happened when we had to have health insurance?
Yeah, I remember there was a point where companies had to have it done by this time or they were penalized like X amount per day or something like that. Yeah, I remember that.
Right. Yeah. And so for us, that meant that we couldn't really help women anymore in the way that we were. Like the way that our system was set up wasn't set up to help support deductibles, if that makes any sense. Like it got really complicated and not every state and everything was different. And so we partnered with Avon Foundation for Women. And I want to say in like 2013, we started partnering with them and really utilized their bigger machine, and they had more resources. And we had this great partnership. They were kind of able to help us solve that problem. And then they dissolved in 2016. And so I don't know if you know that, but Avon Foundation for Women
I remember that.
doesn't exist anymore. And then that same year, my sister was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer. And so we've pivoted from funding early detection to providing health, fitness, and community resources after diagnosis. Not like with really no intention. It was more of like, listen to what's in front of you and be okay that when you make a decision that you can't think about, like we made a big change, right? And it was when you're running your path, right? Sometimes you get on this path because everyone thinks that that's what you should be doing. And that's what I did for a long time. I was like, I think I'm going to help women and highlight what happened to Ceci by just funding mammograms. And I thought that was the road. I thought if I fund enough mammograms that we're helping, right? And when I got 7 years into it, we're now raised 10 million strong. We funded over 50,000 procedures. I felt so empty. I felt like we didn't really do a lot of work because I had never met a woman we helped. She didn't even I never had a connection. And then it was like, okay, they got diagnosed, but then what happened to them? Like we didn't get to close the loop. Like, we were able to help women get detected, but then it was like, well, how do we know they're taken care of? What happened to them now? And so I felt like, and that's why you'll see in our brand a lot of, we do a circle, because I felt like we were missing a part to the diagnosis. We were like, cool, all advocating for early detection, but what kind of support were they getting once they were diagnosed? And how are they getting rehabilitated? And I didn't really think about it until my sister passed away in 2018. And that's when it really was like, why are you doing this? Like you've been so blessed with this vision and this kind of like prophecy, but you feel so empty inside. And being okay to say, okay, the world thinks I should be doing this, but this is what's going to keep my light going after such loss. And I was like, I just want to watch women get barbells back in their hand after breast cancer, because that's what helped me heal from losing my sister, right? So I was like, how do I give this feeling back to women? And so we pivoted after I lost my sister. We took a huge pivot as a company. It was a huge risk. And we launched a resources after diagnosis program in 2020. And it's been the best decision I've ever made in my life. So
condolences on losing your sister. I know that's tough. I lost my grandfather to liver cancer, unfortunately. Did chemo, did the whole thing. When he was diagnosed, they gave him 6 months, but, he really fought through it. And, I think he was around for additional 1.5 years, almost 2 years. And then eventually just decided that, he was just tired of fighting and he passed, unfortunately.
Wow, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So it looks like the resources after diagnosis program has scaled quite significantly and successfully. I'd imagine. I'd love to share a bit more with our listeners about that. I have the page up on your site. I'm actually going to go ahead and test the software sharing our screen. This is my first time doing this, actually.
We're getting really advanced today. Okay.
But this is really awesome. 36 states in the USA, 6 countries in the world. This is amazing. The way that this is scaled and the impact that y'all have made. What I noticed here, scrolling down on the site as well, is the fundraising aspect. Essentially, folks, you've created this community, and correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like you've created this community directly on your platform where folks can share fundraisers and essentially raise for initiatives focused impacting folks suffering from this ailment in particular. Am I correct?
Yeah.
I know that was a mouthful, but.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I think that the blend that makes sense for me now and what we're doing is people are picking up barbells, and that's how they fundraise. So what I did in 2009 for my best friend, gyms are doing that all over the world in October. Like that, it's become a tradition in the CrossFit community and the fitness community.
Oh, wow.
And so that has stayed with us. And so now what I like to say is that we're athletes supporting athletes diagnosed with breast cancer. And so all of these people all over the world are raising funds to make sure that women get back into the gym, that make sure that a woman is built up stronger than ever. And it's a community of fundraisers that believe movement is medicine. They believe in proactive health. And I did so much work in funding early detection where I was like, the biggest early detection I can give a woman is know her body. I think I could do more work talking to 8-year-old girls and teaching 8-year-old girls how to pick up a barbell and know their body so that if they found a lump, they could at least speak up and they can advocate for their health. And so I'm not done with early detection. I was like, I think that it's still through a barbell. Our work still we're going to attack early detection through a barbell, and we're doing the full circle to me, has to come from the thing that saved my life, which is a barbell.
So you know what's interesting? I think your approach is like spot on because there's a lot of trauma that comes with coming out of chemo, coming out of like detecting cancer. Like you don't get rid of it and then you're just back to normal. You're always like mindful, like, is it going to come again? How am I going to deal with it? Like, how am I going to deal with the financial impact of it? Like, how am I going to like rebuild my family so that where we are comfortable? Because, my wife's dad went through chemo, and the strain that they put on his wife, his kids, like there was like sometimes fighting, there was sometimes him like not being able to walk properly, like it was a lot of like emotional hardship. But once he got over it, there was a lot of opportunity for recovery, and I feel like what your program provides is a community to allow you to recover. And the support system. So I think like the support system afterwards is just as important as early detection for sure. Probably even more.
Well, if you look at what happens after cancer, and what I've definitely learned is, and I'm sure you experienced this, was you finish treatment and you ring the bell and you're all done. Your family's been through hell and back for that time that you're in treatment, which lasts anywhere from, 6 months to a year and a half, depending on what your protocol was, right? And so that's a long time, that's a long time for your family to be compromised. Your family's compromised for that time, right? And you as the cancer patient, you have this guilt that you have stopped everybody's life now, so that when treatment's done, you kind of want them to go back to their life. But you're still not really healed. And so I've seen our program work the best for once treatment's gone, once are done, once the hair comes back, once everyone's like, well, you're over that, right? Like you're done with that. And unfortunately, especially for breast cancer, women are going into early onset menopause. The average age of a woman in our program is 43 years old. So they're young moms, young professionals. They've got to get back to work. They've got to get their kids ready for school. They still have to figure out how to have an intimate relationship with their partner. They've lost a piece of their womanhood, their body. It's not functioning the same way. And so the impact, and a lot of women are on long-term treatment, hormonal treatment for the next 5 to 10 years after they ring the bell. And that is a whole other host of.
I didn't know that at all. That's something new.
And we consider active treatment still at Barbells for Boobs. I consider if you're on a hormonal drug therapy, that's active treatment. Like your body's not the same. A lot of them get arthritis, osteoporosis. Like it goes, the list is just like on and on and on. And then the medical world, they see them as cancer free, which is great. They're cancer free. Their body no longer detects, it has a detection of cancer, but the side effects are going to last them the rest of their life. Like they have to look in the mirror every day and see the scars. They're going to bed at night with hot flashes. They're going to bed at night being in menopause at 43. And so it's just, I think that what our program has been able to do is be a buffer and be that place, that safe place where if they're still struggling mentally, physically, spiritually, sexually, like they come and they give it to us. And what we get to do is we get to help walk with them and continue to walk with them. And with there's no timeline. Like we don't care how long you're with us. And there's no expectations, right? There's just come as you are. We're all athletes and all of our women are athletes. Like you saw, 92% of them are physically active. So they have some type of sport or fitness activity that they do. And so there is a different level of connection when you get athletes together. And you're talking about women in my head that are above average. So if you're an athlete, you're kind of like, I'm a competitive weightlifter. So when I got pregnant and they gave me the standards of pregnancy, I was like, what? In the gym, I was like, yeah, that's funny. Like, I'm going to figure out a way around all of this. Like, do you guys have a prescription for above average women that are pregnant? It's like,
Gotcha.
Yeah. So we kind of, I think that the message that I could give to everybody today is if you don't get a seat at the table, or if you don't like the table that's being built, like I don't like the table for breast cancer rehabilitation for women. So I'm building my own and I'm cool with it. Like we got into it at first and it was like, oh, let's change the standard of care. And I was like, nah, we're just going to build our own and we're going to elevate it. I see what they're doing and I see the standard of care, but I think we need to serve a population that needs more. And we want to serve athletes. And that's really been the one identifier for us is like, we want athletic women that want to get into the gym, women that want to get healthier, and come into it with that mindset of progress. I want to get better. I want to move my body. I want to lift weights. I want to just be stronger. And being okay to say, okay, well, nobody really, like it's so funny. You think that you're cool with this word Barbells for Boobs, and a lot of people shut their doors on us because of our name. And I've had a lot of feedback of maybe you should change your name. You'll get bigger. More people will support you, Z. And it's like,
no,
I don't know where I come
name.
from. It's like, you got to stay real with who you are and where you come from. And this is how it started. And I picked up a barbell.
Great.
And if my friend lost her boob at 27, like she called it a boob, like why would I hide from the truth? And I'll just make my own table. And those people that, like my food and the way I dish it up, they're going to come to that table. So
100%.
That's the one thing I've learned in the 12 years of doing this is it's okay to build your own thing and to have a different methodology and a different mindset than what's out there. What's out there isn't always the best thing for everybody. So
amazing. I remember you mentioned, and this was a few years ago. At that point, you had raised, it sounded like $10 million. How much would you say you'd raised so far since then?
I think after this year, we'll be well over 20 million. Yeah.
Awesome. That
we went
is
into
amazing.
This year just under 19 million. So definitely after this year, we'll surpass 20. And it was so funny because I was looking at those numbers today. And I think that I consider myself a social entrepreneur. I run a business, but it's for the people, and so I looked at those numbers, and today I literally just looked at a decade of revenue numbers, fundraising numbers, and I was like, wow, like it was kind of like, good job, Z. Like sometimes because we're like,
yeah, no, absolutely,
great job.
I was just about to use this feature because we don't use this feature.
Yes,
we don't use that enough.
A great job. First of all, it sounds like you guys are still thriving, even coming out of pandemic and everything that happened. And what I was really impressed by is that you got 2,000, 4,000 the first year, and the second year you jumped to 300,000. I was like, oh my God, That's impressive. So what did you guys do to go from 4 to 300,000? Because you could share that with me. Maybe I'll figure out something too. Because that's impressive.
I mean, it was nothing special I did other than commit to it, right? And really share my story. And I was lucky enough to have a community like CrossFit. So I just went gym to gym. I was just like, hey, everyone needs to know who Ceci is. Everyone needs to hear this story. Everyone. And so I literally went gym to gym. It was just guerrilla marketing in a sense of, I have this very valuable community that I want to say believes the same thing I believe, which is, that's messed up what just happened to Ceci. Does everyone agree that she should have had a mammogram? Like, they should have given her a mammogram, right? And so what I learned in being okay to share a story was that everyone else felt the same thing I felt, which was anger, which was, that's not okay. And so I just literally would call people up, hey, can I come work out with you? So I'd sweat with them. And then they let me share Ceci's story. And I would just say, hey, would you guys want to fundraise money this year? And it was just kind of one gym at a time. And then CrossFit Games, that CrossFit puts on a big event once a year. And so I connected with CrossFit and I was like, hey, can I have a booth at CrossFit and at the games, and can we do Grace there? And so it's been a tradition now, 12 years. We've been to the CrossFit Games. We do Grace every year. This is our big time to really talk to the whole community as a whole. And I remember the first year we went, I didn't have to, but I needed everybody to see me. So the things you do your first year, you don't do your 12th year. I got a group of us girls, and I was like, we're gonna wear jean shorts and pink bras, and I guarantee you, people come and pick up barbells. Everybody was like, "Go do Grace, it's awesome!"
So maybe when you hit 20, you bring it back. If 20 years of doing this, you bring it back. I think that would be pretty good. Or 15, either 15 or 20. Don't forget whose idea it came from. You guys just bring it back.
A little TBT.
Yeah. But
so that was really, just getting the message out. And honestly, CrossFit, the first woman we funded a mammogram for happened that year too. So my coach, there was one of my coaches at my gym. There's no coincidences in life, right? And so her cousin was a freelance photographer, 32 years old, found a lump on her breast, and it was like $1,300 for a biopsy. And I was like, all right, well, let's fund it. And it was the first procedure we funded. And then CrossFit caught this story, and they had their media team come and put a little video together. And they put it on CrossFit.com on October 8th, 2010. And I'll never forget that night, we raised like $62,000 after they posted that.
Wow.
And after that, it was just, people were like, what is this? How do I get involved? It was literally overnight. That one day changed the trajectory of what this was going to be. And I remember it took me until Christmas to answer. And I'm super anal about getting back to everybody that contacts me, but I responded to every single email that came through. It was over 2,000 emails overnight that came through. And it was. And then also CrossFit was partnering. They were building a partnership with Reebok that same year. And so Reebok gifted us like 5,000 shirts to give away for everybody that raised money. And so, I think that when you get to be,
you're highly blessed. You're highly blessed. Highly blessed. Everything just lines up perfectly for you. That's awesome.
But I think,
but I'm sure it's not as easy. It's not as easy.
It's not easy because it could have happened to anybody. It's just, are you willing to? I had to let go of who I thought I was. I owned my own gym. I was engaged. I had to let go of that life because my partner didn't see what I saw and didn't agree and didn't support it. And so I had to be so grounded to be like, and this was before that big night. This was like 3 months before that thing. And I was like, I'm going to end everything and do this one thing. And he was like, you're crazy. Like, you need to focus. And we run a gym. And I was like, no, I think there's something here. Like, it's really about listening to your intuition. I had a perfect storm. That's what really happened. It was a perfect storm. And I was in the right place at the right time. I had the right skills and I had the right purpose. It was a perfect storm. I can't. And it's all because of CrossFit. So
that's awesome. I have to ask, how did the Barbells for Boobs Puma collection come about? Yes. This is pretty awesome.
They DM'd me.
Yeah.
That's
I mean, I DM'd you too, so I guess you do respond to everyone eventually. Because if you didn't respond, you wouldn't be here today. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's cool.
you gotta check your DMs. You know, we ended our relationship with Reebok at the same time that CrossFit ended their relationship with Reebok. It just wasn't a lot. Their alignment wasn't there anymore, and you know, we didn't have an apparel sponsor for like 2 years. We just kind of did our own thing, and I think in the beginning, I was so fascinated to have a partner like Reebok. Like I didn't even. I was so scared. I was like, oh my god, what do I? That's Reebok. Like that's a big deal. And by the end of it, you know, you learn so much that you're like, who cares? You know, it doesn't matter. I'm still going to do my
yeah.
thing, whether Reebok shows up or not. Um,
Hmm.
and you learn that you don't need these big brands to support your vision, but what you do need is you need to be so loud that they see you. And so that was the blessing with Puma was that I had been so loud for 10 years that Puma DM'd me. And that was, you know, people see this Puma collection, but they don't see the 10 years it took to get that
Mhm.
Hmm.
DM, right? That work that was put in. And so I got DM'd by like their global partnership person, and she's like, "Hey Z, like we're looking to go into the CrossFit space and our training and our training, sports and training line, and I can't go into a gym without somebody saying your name or talking about Barbells for Boobs, and we're looking for a women's health initiative. Would you be interested?" And
Wow.
you know, and once we got on a call, and there was great alignment there, and just love the brand of Puma. Like, you know, you think about a global brand like this, and to me, I think that we're still a small grassroots organization, and that they care about us so much, and that they're willing to invest resources and time and marketing dollars into, you know, we have 159 women in our programs. That's because I'm quality over quantity. We get funded once a year, so I'm only going to help the amount of women I can truly help, where it's like going to make an impact on the rest of their life. So you look at that. Most big brands aren't going to be like, "You have how many women? You're doing what?" Like, we'll keep it moving. But that was uh, purposeful enough for them
Hmm.
to invest in us, and we're going into our 3 years with them next year. So yeah, and they were launching and we're doing another line in 2023.
I
They're
was just gonna ask,
super. Yeah.
what should we expect coming up? 2023, a drop?
Yep. So we just dropped the Choose Joy line. So you could get that. You can go to barbellsforboobs.org and find it. You can go to Puma, just search Barbells for Boobs. And yeah, that just launched last week. And we've already finalized all the creative for the 2023 line. Yeah. So they've just been an overall great partner. Yeah.
Amazing.
What would you say was the in your overall journey so far? What was the biggest, I guess, obstacle?
Myself.
And when you say
Yeah.
myself, do you mean like I was just about to ask, like self doubt, things of those sorts?
Yeah. Just getting out of your own way. You know, I think that that's your biggest obstacle is knowing, trusting yourself and trusting in your gut. And I think that um, I think what really helped me understand that was having a kid. You know, I had my son in 2012, and I I was still. I mean, we had raised like 1.2 million that year, and it was still just me and one other employee working out of my house. And I was scared to take really big risks. I just did everything on my own. And I think that becoming a mom made me really kind of take a step back and be like, there's more to life than just drowning yourself in work all day. And that really, he really inspired me to live a better life and a more balanced life and take on like the risk of hiring people. You know, it's hard to give up something you've built that you didn't think was going to be this, right? You didn't think, I didn't do that workout thinking that we were going to be some large global brand in the breast cancer space. I didn't, that was never the intention. And so the minute you can get yourself out of the way and put trust in other people to just give them as much of information about your vision and and get out the way and let them go. I still struggle with that because it's like your firstborn. It's like, you want to protect it, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point because I was wondering, when did this organization stop being a you you team versus like a organization? Because I feel that's the hardest part as you scale. Like, when's the right time to scale? When's the right time to actually invest in getting more people? Because you just don't know what can kind of go, not go wrong, but you just don't know. So when did that, besides like you're mentioning your son, but when did that light bulb come off for you when you were like, all right, I actually can't do all this by myself. Like, I need to actually hire people. And who was the first hire that you made?
Yeah, I
Like,
was
what
gonna say,
position was that?
to be honest, that actually happened today. So, no, so there's two parts to that. The very first hire I had was actually my husband, and he's a
You
web
hired him
developer.
after he was like, we do gyms? I'd be like, you can't work for me ever.
No, 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 no. That was my ex. That was my ex. I got a new.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I got.
Okay, got it.
I got.
Someone that believed in the vision. Got it. Okay, okay,
Oh
okay.
my gosh, believed in it from the day that he met me. He started as he's our creative director. So
Okay.
everything that our brand, anything our brand, he's made it, built it,
Cool.
elevated it to the next level. He was my first hire, and really because I didn't know how to use a computer, and I was like, I just need somebody with that computer skill. And he really took a risk on it because he was working for the clothing brand Ruka or RVCA. They're owned by Billabong now. Big
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm familiar.
like surf skate action company out here, and he was my first employee, and he was like, well, how much can you pay me? And I was like, this. And he was like, okay, I trust you, and I'm gonna leave this corporate job. And he did, and he's been with me ever since, and has really led the brand and creative from the beginning. So that was my first hire. It was kind of looking at what are the things I for sure can't do. And it was like, I don't
Mm,
know how to run a website. I don't know how to do graphic design. And so instead of trying to figure out how to do those things, let me bring on somebody that can kind of handle all of that. And so he's been, that was probably the most critical hire I've ever made. And now when I say
he's
today,
probably
I did
very
change.
happy to hear that. He's probably
Yeah.
super happy to hear that.
I fired him once. I brought him back. I fired him once. But now I'm in this new place where, and I say today because I'm constantly being challenged on growth. I kind of fight it sometimes, and right now I really need to bring on a global team. And
Mm,
today was like I made that decision of, all right, Z, we're gonna go global. We're gonna build a global leadership team. And so that, like when I say today, it's these things. Don't think that because I've been around 12 years, I know what I'm doing. That I'm so confident in everything I do. It's new things are happening and new opportunities come, and it's like, okay, let's build an even bigger team. And so
mm.
it's still something that I struggle with, and new opportunities come, and you want to fight that urge to stay small and simple. But that how I know at the end of the day, more women need us,
Got it.
and that's where you have to kind of what you have to have on your mind and make those decisions.
And how do you stay so? Just in your day to day operationally, you're dealing with leading this initiative that's scaled quite significantly. You're also, you've got a family. How do you block out the noise, so to speak, and stay focused on the task at hand when you're, working on your project or just trying to have family time, whatever the area of focus is at the time. Like, I guess, how do you stay level head? And you mentioned self doubt. You talked about a lot of things. You've overcome a lot of obstacles. I'm curious how, just for myself and also our
Mm-hmm.
listeners, how do you stay focused?
I'm an athlete, so honestly, just picking up a barbell has helped guide me to every piece of my life, every triumph, every doubt, every hurdle. I find peace with a barbell. It's my medicine. I'm a competitive weightlifter, and so what I have found, and this is something that I think that in leadership we need more of for women. We need more athletes that are leaders because what I found in my own athleticism and my own competitive place, a lot of women look at taking care of themselves and going to the gym and staying fit and doing something crazy like, I went to Pan Am's last year and competed, that it's selfish, that that if I do this for myself, your family, your kids should be first, your husband should be first. You kind of have this pressure. And there aren't many leaders out there that I've met, female leaders that are moms, have families, and are athletes and competitive athletes. We're a rare breed, right? And I hope to inspire more women to find their sport while they lead a community, while they lead a company, while they lead a family. Because this is what I found in competition. And this is why I compete still. I compete so I can have that anxiety. I compete every time I compete. So I feel like the anxiety is a healthy thing. Not anxiety where you can't leave your house because you have so much anxiety. That's not the anxiety I'm talking about. The anxiety of you're scared because this is going to make you grow. You're scared because what you're about to do, you don't do it every day, and you're going to grow and you're going to learn something. And so every time I get to compete, I'm scared. Like I'm going to literally go number 2 right before I got to go do my first lift, my opener. And this past year in my sport, right before I went to Pan Americans, my brother passed away. And my brother was like my mentor, my person. He was 46 years old, and his liver failed on him. And eventually he passed away from a heart attack. And it was sudden. It wasn't something I was, none of us were ready for. And that moment in my life, it was I was 6 weeks out from competition, from an international competition. And it was instant, like, I shouldn't compete. Like, there's no way, I can't get through this. I can't even walk. I couldn't use my legs. I was a mess for a minute. And then something just deeper just reminded me, this is his number 15. Something deeper reminded me that the only reason why we're here is to be better, is to help more people, is to give back. And there's no way my brother wouldn't want me to go up and inspire other women on that stage that day. And so it was kind of like, what would Mike want? What would Mike do? And he'd be like, you better get on that stage, girl, go show him. Because anytime he would introduce me, he'd be like, yo, look what my sister does. Like, she's badass, And so I'm like, there's no way. Like, he'd be so proud of me. So I went and I competed and I got all personal records and I placed 4th at Pan Americans. And so,
wow.
To that, you have to find something that lights your soul on fire so much that it gives you anxiety. And if you're not putting yourself in that place, you're not finding that outlet, you're never going to actually grow as a person, as like who you are, not who are you to a kid, who are you to your husband, but who you are to yourself and what you stand up for. And so I just do that through my athleticism, through a barbell every day. It's just, after this, I'm going to pick up a barbell, so it's just become a habit, and I am who I am because of it.
Wow.
That's awesome. It's amazing. I don't know about you, Tony, but I feel inspired. I also might go and pick up a barbell right after this.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
I feel like, and in the gym now, like,
100%. 100%. Just one question, and I forgot to ask, and you just talked about international. How are you in the 9 countries that you're in? Is it coincidental? Is it partnerships? Like the 9 countries, like how did you end up there? And if you could name a few of them by chance.
So we have a few different ways that we're engaged in different countries internationally. So the one way is through fundraising. So we have gyms that fundraise, and they're in different countries. So that's one way. And we haven't even tapped into the full potential of fundraising in other countries. We've done no actual marketing. They've either probably met us at the games and found out about us through, just through the CrossFit community, but CrossFit's in 120 countries. So you can only imagine the opportunity there for us to grow in other countries. And then from a programmatic perspective, we have women in 6 countries that we actually serve that are part of our program. So for instance, we have not a lot of them, but like we have a woman in Poland, and she comes to our workout class every day. And again, she's in this place where, I want to start Barbells for Boobs Poland. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like, well, let's just do Barbells for Boobs Europe, And then we have women in Korea, Australia that are part of our programs that connect with us on a weekly basis or daily basis. And so we serve globally. And so our programs are set up because they're virtual, that anyone, anywhere in the world can join and be a part of our programs.
Okay. So let's say if you're a person that isn't in need of like financial aid, but you want to be a part of the community to be a support system to other people, can they do that through your organization as well, or is it more so tailored to people that are somewhat in need? Just want to get sense.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's somebody that doesn't need financial aid necessarily, and they're like a breast cancer survivor, is that what you're going to? Like somebody that's been through breast cancer, or just anyone?
That scenario, or just anyone, like someone like is very passionate about the space. They want to support people because they understand it either through like a family member or a cousin, and they love your story because you have this warmth around you and they want to be closer. Like, can they just be a part of the program? So this one, yeah.
Yeah, just send us an email, info@Barbells for Boobs. Let us know you're passionate about this work and you're interested in any projects we have coming up. And as projects come up, we'll keep everybody posted on things that are happening and how people can get involved and help us out. So for sure, 100%. Yeah.
Cool.
Always looking for passionate people.
I agree. All right. So, thank you so much for your time. I mean, this has been great. If there's one thing that you want our listeners to know in regards to more proactive care for themselves, is there any tips, advice that you wanted to share to wrap this up?
I'm going to give my best friend's advice she gave me about life in general. This is, I think that we should all live our lives with this motto: is eat the cookie. So she means eat the cookie. As far as your health, like, don't eat the whole bag of cookies, but have a lifestyle where you're not afraid to eat cookies, that you have good habits, you have, that you eat well enough where if you eat a cookie, it's not going to derail you, or you're not punishing yourself after you eat a cookie, that eating a cookie is a part of your life and it's okay to do, and have a good time, have fun with it while you're here, Eat the cookie.
I like that advice. That's a good one. That's an easy one. I like that. That's good. All right, then.